Hey everyone, Matthew here. Welcome back to the channel. Great to have you with me as always. I hope you're all having an amazing Monday. It is January 5th, 2026, and you're tuned into the Daily Nasdaq Futures Recap, where we break down the macro backdrop, track real-time order flow, and walk through every single trade executed by our algorithmic system. Let's jump straight into today's action. Market news and economic landscape. We kicked off the session with a relatively light economic calendar, which kept the market's focus squarely on price action, positioning, and sector rotation rather than headline-driven volatility. Key scheduled events included at 10 a.m. EM Manufacturing PMI, at 11:30 a.m. 3 and 6-month Treasury bill auctions, at 12 p.m. Atlanta Fed GDPNow update. There were no major tech earnings scheduled after the bell, but markets were closely watching CES 2026 in Las Vegas, where Nvidia founder and CEO Jensen Huang was set to deliver a major keynote focused on what's next in AI. This kept semiconductors firmly in the spotlight throughout the day. Overnight session. When futures reopened at 6 p.m. Sunday evening, we saw steady, orderly, upside momentum, as volatility remained muted and the index held firm. Bitcoin also traded calmly over the weekend, signaling a stable risk backdrop. As Asian markets opened higher, our algorithm initiated a long position, which was later closed for a small loss, a controlled outcome as momentum failed to accelerate further. Morning session and U.S. Open. Heading into the U.S. morning, semiconductor stocks surged, with Intel up nearly 6% and Nvidia pushing higher, setting a bullish tone pre-market. Our robot entered another long position early in the session. With no major economic data at 8:30 a.m., the market briefly dipped, allowing our system to exit the long for a solid profit, fully erasing the overnight loss. Realized profit $139. At the 9:30 a.m. cash open, the market pulled back from pre-market highs. Our system responded by entering a short position, which was later closed for a small loss as price action stabilized. At 10 a.m., the ISM Manufacturing PMI came in at 47.9, slightly below the prior 48.2, reinforcing contraction territory. Despite the softer data, markets showed little reaction, hovering around the 25,600 level. Meanwhile, Bitcoin reclaimed $93,000, confirming strength in crypto. Tesla broke above $455, continuing its upward trend. At this point, Nasdaq realized P&L stood at $39. Our AMD equity trade continued to perform exceptionally well, with $859 in realized profit. Midday update. At 12 p.m., the Atlanta Fed GDPNow estimate dropped to 2.7% from 3.0%, prompting a modest market dip as growth expectations cooled. Afternoon session and into the close. During the afternoon, investor attention shifted decisively towards CES 2026. As anticipation built ahead of Jensen Huang's speech, Nvidia shares rolled over, slipping below the $187 level. Our robot capitalized on the weakness, entering a short trade that was closed for a profit, lifting Nasdaq realized P&L to $225, while the AMD profit remained at $859. Total realized profit at that point, $1,084. Bitcoin continued its rally, breaking above $94,000, reinforcing broader risk-on sentiment. At 2 p.m., just ahead of the Nvidia keynote, the stock dipped again below $187, triggering another short entry. That trade pushed Nasdaq realized profit up to $231. However, just before the closing bell, the system entered one final short position, which was stopped out for a loss, bringing Nasdaq realized profit back down to $203. After the bell, Jensen Huang spoke at CES about the future of AI. Nvidia stock showed little immediate reaction following the address. Summary and key takeaways. Overall, today was a choppy but manageable session, with noticeable weakness across AI and tech stocks. Despite that, we have $203 realized trading 1E micro Nasdaq contract and $859 realized trading 100 shares of AMD. Total realized profit $1,062. A solid way to start the week. Thank you for tuning in and being part of this daily journey. I'm Matthew, wishing you all an amazing evening. I'll see you tomorrow for the next NASDAQ Futures Recap.